We are back with the Online Survival 4 podcast, talking episode 9 tonight with Mike, Alex, Aspen. And actually, I'm going to switch it up. We'll get into the tops and the bottoms, but I want to talk about the jury first. We got to see the jury for the first time. I used to do the Cam DeRosa segments between episodes this time. So, how you feeling with the jury?
Man, I mean, Muggsy was on one.
As usual.
I mean, like I honestly like if you just I would have said Muggsy would be like chill on jury, and she did not meet that expectation of mine. She kind of completely proved me wrong. That was certainly interesting. Her just derailing the conversation consistently.
True.
Fuck Riazzo. I don't know. The whole time I'm just like, bro, you literally are just salty. You bitter. You just mad because you out the game, and now you doing all this. I don't know. I didn't.
Wait, are you saying this because he was your little anti-Rita?
No.
That kind of surprised me, to be honest. Like, you were like actively trying to play both sides, and you're mad that like she didn't want to put her neck on the line for you.
Yeah.
Literally.
I will say all of them kind of sound more delusional than in the game.
I don't know that Emily sounded delusional. She didn't know how she went
Emily
home, which
sounded
is fair,
delusional a little
but
bit. Emily was so paranoid that she had said something that ticked Rita and Dom off. Like the read was really off, and I think Susan was just being Susan, the one that the way that Aspen has always said about Susan, I'm like, well, that's how she kind of is in the jury. And then Muggsy, obviously, we're not surprised. And then Riazzo, like, yes, the playing both sides was such a good thing this whole season. You go in the jury and you act like there was a right way to go about not voting you out. Like, you got voted out, and it was the best move for anyone's game. You were not loyal to anybody left in that house or in the season. So, like, to be bitter is something that is kind of very like it just for me continues to derail his gameplay. Like to me, it's not it's giving Dot.
You think it's that bad?
It's not that bad. It's not that bad.
Not quite, but
It's
almost.
not that bad. But like it's not giving. It's not giving as smart as he was in the season. It's giving salty. It's giving kind of just like over the top that you don't like. You want to control the rest of the game still, even though technically Rita and Dom outplayed you in the sense that they're still in the house.
Counterpoint: bitter juries are great and a good part of the game, and there's a reason that people feel that way. And there probably are things that could have been said to make him feel better about his exit. And I didn't get to talk about it last week, but like Riazzo's like ham-fisted fake idol was so like over the top, kind of like you did a terrible job of selling that. But I don't think anything he said was like too crazy. Like you did technically vote with one side, and then they did kind of leave you out to dry, but like you were trying to play both sides. So,
right.
But I like to see the passion from the jury, even if some of it, Muggsy, is misguided a little bit.
Yeah, Mike, you weren't here last week. What did you think about Riazzo and Susan's downfall?
Oh my God! Why did Susan just fumble the easiest way to survive like ever? She could have swung that on Tabitha by not admitting it was her the whole time. Like she had just spent the whole season like doing a fine job. I thought throwing the vote was a good strategy. I thought it was a good move, but like you just admit it in the 11th hour when there's like you have 10 minutes before a vote or 5 minutes before a vote. Like what are you doing? I was very disappointed in that move by Susan. I know Aspen was chuckling at the downfall, but she had herself set up decently, I really thought, and I kind of feel like Ashley would have chosen her over Tabitha at that point in the game. So it kind of blew my mind that she threw that like that.
Speaking of Susan, on her exit interview, Aspen, she got your name mixed up. So we're going to call you Amanda tonight because that's what she was calling you in her exit interview.
Oh, I need to watch.
So Amanda, you could give our first top of the night. Without saying why, who is your first high person on the list?
You know what? I'm gonna give it to Ashley.
Oh, really?
For up?
For winning the challenge?
Okay. Interesting. Who's next?
Whoever wants to go.
Dom is my up for this episode.
He'll like that. He was in the comments last week since when you put him down. He was not pleased.
That has nothing to do with this rating.
I'm echoing the Dom up. Are we giving reasons now? Or are we gonna get to that? We'll get to that.
We'll get to that, yeah.
Okay.
How about your downs?
I'll go with down. I think the down for me has got to be Tabitha.
Tabitha as well.
Tabitha.
Well, that seems to be unanimous.
Yeah.
Well, we'll start with Mary. This was her elimination episode. What went wrong for Mary this week?
I mean, I just think someone else made a bad move. And I guess Mary's flaw would have been not ever building a good relationship with Tabitha. I mean, when you get down to 5 people and you don't, I feel like Tabitha kept saying, like, I'm supposed to be working with Mary, but I never talk with Mary. Like, she said that, I feel like, multiple times throughout the season. And it was never, Mary had never, like, properly remedied it with Tabitha. If you're in an alliance of 4 people, you better hope, which was Susan, Tabitha, and Ashley, you would better hope that all 4 of those people you have a good relationship with. And there's one person you don't talk to, you better be requesting chats with that person. There's an art to requesting chats. And if anything can be pointed to as the singular cause of her downfall, it would be that.
I think she's just so passive, and like throughout the season, I feel like her other person that she's actually talked to the most is Dom for some reason. I feel like I see a lot of Dom combos with her. I didn't see any with Tabitha, and I rarely saw any with Susan. And I think she relied so much on Ashley, and she just didn't like act enough. The vote to get out Rita in this round isn't necessarily a bad idea, especially because she clocked that Tabitha might trust Dom. But then you had to have gone to Tabitha and be like, this is why you should vote out Rita. But she didn't do, I don't know if there was like lack of time or whatever, but like it was very much just like I'm going to vote Rita and I hope you do too, Ashley. And that's all we need. When it's not, you need 3 votes. So there need to be more activity and action from her end.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. I mean, though, yeah, it was just like the jury said, besides Muggsy, like Mary, what did you do? Muggsy, I know, is gonna beg to differ because she deserved to win, which I'm like, where the fuck did you get that from? What are you talking about? But anyway, I digress. Yeah, it honestly was sad to see Mary go, and Ashley looked like she was about to cry too. I was like, oh God, what's happening here? And then you can see Ashley like flopping at the end, trying to pull anything to try to get something going, but
that's what Mary needed to do. Like,
yeah,
like Ashley had a pretty compelling argument. Not her ass on the line, right? Like,
right.
Mary, because you're on the line, you can literally just be like straight up and be like, this is why this needs to happen. Tabitha, you need to vote this way. It's a final 2. Like, you're not going to be the final. You're not going to be the second person that's taken to the end. Like, anything would have been better than.
Also, I think it was so funny that she was being so much like the dynamic duo, but I'm like, Ashley and Mary, y'all are slick a dynamic duo also because y'all doing the same thing. But
yeah,
Mary could have convinced Tabitha that she would have voted Ashley at final 3 or even final 4. Like, she needed to make that one move. And this is something I said much earlier in the season, is that Mary is in a great position to win this game. All she needs to do is make 1 or 2 good moves in the 11th hour. And this was the chance, and it didn't happen.
Right.
And this is where we are.
True.
Well, we'll move on to all of your down in Tabitha.
Ooh, Tabitha. I mean, I do think she was. I'm gonna devil's advocate for her a little bit. Is that she was stuck in between what did appear to be two duos. However, I do think she chose the duo that is much, much less likely to turn on each other, and I don't think it was the right play.
I mean, I'm glad she chose that duo, obviously, but
We know.
also it was like, oh my God, girl. Like, and honestly, like I was like, how could she even save herself from that little situation where Ashley is calling her out at one point? Like, I'm thinking, like, what could she have fucking said? What could she have done? And to be honest, I don't fucking know. I don't know what the fuck I mean, honestly, I probably would have played it off much better than she did because she just was acting weird. But I don't know. It was sad.
Yeah, I feel for her position. Obviously, she's the lone wolf between two duos, and I'm sure she does view Ashley as the biggest threat to win the whole game. So I get that. I also, it is hard. It's the final two. Like, either side is most likely not going to pick you as their final two. So she had to pick a decision, like make a decision. But I feel like one shouldn't really make the in grounds with Dom or Rita to be like, hey, this is why you should take me as the final two instead of the other. And she's just choosing to vote with them as like a type three or being the third. And I think obviously the real best move here, and if Mary had talked to her more, would have been to like go to Mary and say, you're my best chance to win. And I know Ashley's safe, so we'll vote out one of Rita or Dom, but like you need to promise me we need to cut Ashley. That is probably her best shot of winning this game. Tabitha has no shot of winning this game next to Mary. That is the only way to win. And she didn't, I mean, it's not her fault that she has to pick a side, but she did pick the wrong side. Not because I want Ashley to win, but it's more so because there is a Mary that you could actually win against. And Ashley is not the greatest at comps. I think it's more equal for her versus Dom, who has consistently won a lot. She chose a side that is most likely, I think, could win out and not pick you at the end. So I think that's her biggest problem.
I feel like she made a good move to get to the final three because I think you'll probably like Ashley will give you fire if she wins immunity, probably. So you have like a chance at that. Otherwise, if Ashley's not immune, they're just going to vote out Ashley. But like, don't play to get to the final three. Play to get to the final two with someone you can beat. It felt like a lack of foresight, and I don't think there's no chance she wins this game. I think there's actually a chance that she could win this game next to like Rita. I think it would be a travesty. But this jury, from what we saw, I said it would be a travesty, but I think this jury, from what we saw, could potentially be angry enough at Rita for whatever reason.
I think Rita wins unanimously against Tabitha because Tabitha just showed where she's at. Muggsy's not going to vote for her. I don't think Susan will. I don't think Ashley and Mary will at this point. If it's Rita against Tabitha, the respect that at least Rita played with her people and stuck to her word and never really played that middle, I think gains the respect from most people. I don't think the person she would maybe get is Riazzo and maybe Emily, but I think Emily also knows it wasn't Rita. So to me, that's the losing game. Dom, same thing.
The jury was saying that kind of Tabitha needed to make more moves. Do you think they'll consider this a move made, or do you think they're not going to like the move?
Picking out Mary out of the other is not a move. It is not a move. So no.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I don't think she's going to be looked upon favorably by the jury.
No.
I don't find it likely that she.
No, she about to have to do something cutthroat next. That's what's about to happen. She gonna.
But what's left?
What is left?
Genuinely, what's left?
What is left to do?
It's just not her season. It's just not her season.
It
really does feel like whoever talks to her the last that's who she goes with. I mean, we said that way earlier.
That
It really
kind of
feels
is
like-
what happened, huh?
And I'm just, yeah.
Yeah.
True.
Well, we will move on to Ashley, Aspen, or should I say Amanda, whatever I'm going to call you tonight. I don't know. Why do you have Ashley up?
You know what? Because I actually gained respect for Ashley in this episode. She turned it around. She was like, I pray to my spirits and I'm locked in. And I was like, okay, you know what? I mean, I feel like she did have a good read on the game the whole time. Personally, I was like,
Absolutely.
you don't feel like you had a good read? I'm like, damn, I thought you was reading the shit. You reading it how we seeing it, you know? So she definitely is, if she don't win, done, you know, like KO, for sure. But I will say she has, I mean, the jury is gonna, if she get there, the jury fucking voting for her ass to win.
Yeah.
She's sweeping.
Yeah.
So I mean, and honestly, he's made the most moves this whole game, in my opinion. I mean,
She's made, like all the moves. Yeah.
so
She made the only miscalculation is thinking that voting out Susan would make Tabitha happy and still work with her. That was the only miscalculation. And honestly, I don't
So
fault her
you
for that.
think she shouldn't have voted out Susan? You think she should have voted?
Well, absolutely not, because Tabitha clearly was playing with Rita and Dom more than Susan would ever play with Rita and Dom. I think,
But did she know Susan was voting for Tabitha?
but that's the thing. Like that, I think that is the miscalculation. Is that knowing that Susan fessed up to it, she thought that voting out Susan for Tabitha is gonna, make Tabitha. Not make Tabitha, but like help Tabitha, right? Because she wants to show Tabitha that she's still working with her. And that's it's not, I don't fault her for doing that, because in my eyes, like, why, like Ashley and Mary voting out Susan, who is on their side, is more brave of a thing than Rita and Dom voting out Susan, when in reality, they already want her ass out. So like, to me, I don't see it as a bad thing that Ashley tried to do that. Obviously, it's bad to get rid of a number, but she had thought that Tabitha trusted her, and she trusted Tabitha, and I think that is the one. If she gets out in fourth here, that is the only move that she made a mistake on, is trusting that Tabitha, just like Muggsy said, trusting Tabitha is probably the only move that she's probably messed up.
I mean, it's so easy to say that with foresight, though, because she was not immune at the time.
Right.
And when you see people piling on Susan because she just dropped this like ridiculous bombshell, like, your priority at a certain point is just to get through the round, and you think, oh, I'm heading into it with a 3-2 advantage. I thought we'd be going into this round, and whichever one of the two, Dom and Rita, didn't lose immunity, I thought they were cooked, and then Tabitha just went off the reservation. So yeah, I player of the season for me is Ashley. I don't know that I would go so far as putting her up this week, because I think she has a very difficult path to actually getting to the final two. But I've just really appreciated watching her play all season long. Like, everything her decisions, I feel like, are good decisions, founded on what she knows. The way she explains her reasoning has been great. Like, I've really enjoyed watching her play.
She's like the dragon. She really is like the typical Survivor New Era, is like having a dragon in the show. No, listen, you have to agree with me here. Like, if she gets out at 4, she is, the dragon of the season, just like Q is the dragon of my season, or whatever you want to call it.
True.
The Jason vote off was legitimately game changing. Like, that changed the entire course of the game.
The entire,
and that was all her. We can sit here and joke about Susan Mastermind all we want, but like, that was
Ashley. Yeah.
And it completely changed the course of the season. And even though we are in a position where we're very likely to see a legend winner, I do think like it was almost a certainty if they had gotten to the merge with all their numbers the way they could have.
Yeah, I think when she was saying that she didn't have like a read on the game, which she did, I think she was saying that she would sit there and think about it, and then it would come to her by the end of the round. And that's something she was very good at.
Yes.
It reminded me a lot of Rochelle in your season, Alex, season 3, she was also very good at like at the end of a round getting what she wanted. So it's
Shout
very
out to Michelle. That's my girl.
I love her so much. I haven't talked to her since, but like she was fantastic. So yeah, I agree.
yeah, it's hard to be that like changing shit that quick, but Ashley's one of the players that are good at that.
Yeah, I think because that was a double with Susan going home, like, and Rita and Dom both like ineligible, really, right? Was that the round that
Yeah.
both?
Yeah.
Like you had to choose between Tabitha and Susan, and like there's not enough time to make everyone be like, let's just vote out Tabitha, right? Like, and to me, I think she trusted Tabitha more than Susan just because of like early game anyway. So like none of that could have been foreseen. Like this episode was kind of just like a really sad, almost send off to Ashley. Like we're like watching her like slowly inch out the door. And it depends on if she can win out and get all the way to final two versus Dom, who is literally just a comp beast and in all aspects and all areas. So this was, you know, a sad downfall episode where I can't even fault her for much of the like how things went about, you know.
Comp Beast is so crazy because, like, yes, he's won a lot of challenges and he's obviously very engaged in it. But like, look at these challenges. Like, come on, you can't tell me that you can't tell me that you're going to be able to predict future success because he's better at the helicopter game. Like, I'm sorry, like
he is pretty versatile.
They're an equal playing field as far as I'm concerned with every future challenge. And I'll say this
because
I think Ashley played almost a perfect game because that was again a double eviction. She had like 5 minutes to work with. You can't blame her too much for that. And if Rita and Dom had not been both immune back to back, because that's crazy. That is crazy that happened at that pivotal moment. If either of them are vulnerable in either of those rounds, that person goes home. I truly believe that, and I think Ashley at that point has the game signed, sealed, and delivered.
It's circumstantial, Ashley played,
they clutched it out. Like Rita and Dom clutched it out. Like I'm not trying to take anything away from them. I'm just saying, like, I can't sit here and say Ashley made a mistake and like point to like one specific, like, oh, you should have done this. Like with the information she had,
I agree.
What else could she do?
I agree. There's nothing I can fault her for. I'll do it.
Tabitha might give her fire. It depends if she's the last person to talk to her before the final four vote.
That is my only hope, is that like Ashley like has a long ass talk with Tabitha, like the full 10 minutes.
Yeah, I promise to take her to final three. You'll see. You know.
Well, no, not just that.
She'll go, okay, cool.
It's like
or final two. I mean.
Yeah, final two, and it's just like it's very quick. I think it's a very easy fix to kind of convince her, be like, force the fire or like force the tie. Those two are not taking you to final two. I will. You took out all my allies. Susan and Mary are both gone. Take me. Like, I believe that Ashley can do shit like that. It's not the end, but
no, Alex is actually right.
I know.
That was my idea, but you give me.
Yeah, no, it literally was my idea.
I mean, like, that could have been her original plan. Like, Tabitha has to have some sort of plan. You would
be
think.
Crazy.
And I mean, like, this way she knows she's guaranteed fire, really. Like, I don't think that's a crazy sell. Like, oh, these two are a duo now. Like, make fire with me, even if she loses immunity. Because, like I said, I think she set herself up to make final three, or at least be able to make fire for final three. Whether that actually happens, we'll see.
Right.
True.
Make fire is hilarious because
I know, right? Make fire.
No fire.
Tiebreaker challenge doesn't roll off the tongue as well. Okay?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
We will move on to Rita next.
Some jury hate thrown her way that I didn't see as fair.
Yeah.
No, and it was definitely unwarranted too.
It was.
Like
I will say, like, I never have been the biggest Rita fan this whole season, but one thing that I don't get here is like I don't see a world where you can hate the way Rita played this game just because she stayed true to her word. Not a single person can actually be mad at her. You know, like she never really lied or backstabbed anybody. You know.
when you get outplayed, though, it's not rational. It's not a rational emotion that you feel. You're just mad that you lost.
Yeah.
And I'll say this, like, because I've given so much praise to Ashley, is just like, I'll say the same thing for Dom, but like Rita's like boss mode, like smart decisions to get to this point. Like
Yes.
absolutely well done on her part. Like playing the advantage when she did. Great move. Didn't get talked out of it by Riazo, even though he tried. Like didn't let anybody talk you out of doing that. And then like knowing that you're doing that, playing for the later challenge. I was in my head like she better play for that later challenge. She better play for that later challenge, and
Yes.
she did. And she got that safety there too, which was like again. That's what got her to this in a great position to potentially make the final two.
Yeah.
So like huge props to her, smart decision making. Like she got dealt a pretty bad hand. She lost her number one ally outside of her control,
Yeah.
and she came back into the game and she like was being targeted, and she fought her way to the final four with a duo partner who wasn't going to betray you probably.
Yeah.
Like that is great gameplay. That doesn't happen accidentally. Did she necessarily make like huge, like big flip, like game adapting moves? No. Did she need to? Nope.
No.
Here she is in pole position to win the game potentially. So good for her.
Hey, we're talking about edit though. Like this is so funny, but I was thinking about this watching the episode. I was like, Edgic. If Nick even cares about that part, my only issue about Rita is that she did have such really smart game making decisions, like picking to play the later round immunity and winning that, and then playing the advantage when she did. Like, I feel like these past few episodes we haven't gotten too much insight on like the way Rita plays this game, and those rounds are really, really important. And like the smart and the round where she voted Ashley when Dom should have voted Ashley, like she's made such good decisions for the past 3 episodes essentially, and I feel like we haven't gotten too much of a check-in with her on how she feels about her game in this. But that's just edging. That's just me being like,
there's no edgic here. My confessionals are like, some people are just more chatty than others.
Yeah, so that's my thing. Is counterpoint is rule number 1 of editing is you can only work with what you have.
I agree.
So if it didn't happen, like her deciding to play the later challenge isn't something that happened on camera. You don't get her for 5 minutes explaining why she chose to play and submit for the later challenge. So like, like what we've seen is great. So I don't think that that's indicative of her not winning or anything along those lines.
Yeah. Like
she could also just be like Danny from Survivor and just not want to talk in confessionals about her game. Like she just doesn't want to give things away, because that was a thing that some Survivor players have done.
Mary was saying that Dom was carrying Rita this game. Do you agree?
Absolutely not.
Why do you say that, Aspen?
Rita, if anything, Rita carrying Dom. And I wouldn't even say that because he been winning his immunity, but she decided to carry him from the beginning. But you know what? I will say I like their little duo. They little brown duo is cute. I do. I'm standing for it. I'm standing it. But I do not think that fucking Dom carried Rita. That's a bit much now.
Aspen, were you jealous when Dom called Rita Bay?
I didn't even hear that.
It was a couple episodes
You
ago.
just exposed Dom.
Right.
So that was a whole thing going in. That was whole Riazo's spill when the last episode was like,
oh yeah, that they like
they're so tight together. Dom called Rita Bay.
They're a partnership,
I think, and some shit be happening, and I think Dom don't be aware of what be happening. Like when some that kind of ticked me off a little bit was when you was like, so are y'all a dynamic duo or some shit? And he was like,
he was very quick to.
Yeah, they didn't. I'm trying to praise them because I think they had a great underdog story and stuff, but like they handled that travel terribly. Like if I'm Tabitha, I'm flipping the second they start saying
yeah,
that kind of stuff,
literally
like,
though.
it didn't end up being in the butt, so we're not talking about it for too long.
Anyone other than Tabitha would have been like, why did you go with these two who are like completely saying they're together by them to like
Poor Tabitha.
Ugh.
You know, she was not in the original power structure, and she missed a whole episode. Like, we just sit here and crap on her, but like some of this was out of her control.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
Yeah,
For
she
sure.
has missing info. She has missing info, but like,
But it ain't our fault you went to Vegas.
but the tribal shit, they're literally saying that they're a duo, and they're admitting
that should have been your wake up call.
That was your clue. That was your clue, boo.
right.
It wasn't a clue. They told you on a
It wasn't-
silver
yeah, it
platter
wasn't
that they're not
a clue.
turning on
It's
each other.
literally
No
the
uncertain
answer.
terms.
The answer
front of
was in front of her face.
Everybody
Wow.
in front of the jury. So like, even if you tried to paint it as a smart move to the jury, they're gonna say, "We saw the same tribal you did.
They're dumb
We
as
saw
shit.
them say this. If we see it, the jury sees it." Those that showed up. So it's crazy to me.
Well,
No.
that leaves Dom. You got two of you put him up.
Yes. So like, he's just won the challenges that he needed to win, and he lost his first challenge in a long time. Didn't get a single vote. Like, he wasn't even targeted. Like, great for him. He's in a great position to win the game. I think the jury's less bitter on him than Rita.
Yes.
So like, if that is the final two, I could see it.
Crazy.
I could see it.
Crazy.
I don't know that would be right or the right decision, but like, we didn't play the game. We aren't the jury. You know, so he's been just aware enough, and he stuck by the people that he needed to stick by, and he won the clutch challenges. Because again, all this comes back to, if either him or Rita are vulnerable in those two double elimination rounds, one of them is going home. Whoever's not immune is going home. So when it mattered, he stepped up, and that he's in a position to potentially win the game off of it. So good for him.
So Mary's wrong about Dom carrying Rita, but I will say episode kind of definitely altered my feelings about Dom as a player. Socially, he does have it on lock. You know, like Mary didn't want to go for Dom. Tabitha and Dom are working together. Dom is willing, to me in the season, Dom has talked to people who are not in his alliance more than Rita has. So it's not the fact that Rita or Dom carry each other. They actually kind of did their own thing by themselves in a way that, like, Dom was kind of the shield for Rita, but Dom was also making inroads enough that by this point, somehow, being the comp beast that he is, that everyone, you know, claims that he is, he didn't get a single vote tonight. And like, that is kind of a good testament to his social game. And I don't think it's reported too much in this season, but like, there's enough people that like him in the jury and in the game that kept him alive, even though he has won a lot of the individual immunities. So that's why he's up to me. I genuinely think he could pull out 2 wins in a row at this point. I think he's sitting at the final 2. I don't know if he wins, but I think he's there.
Aspen.
Yeah, I agree. He definitely ain't winning. I mean, because if we talking about moves, you know, like him being a comp beast, but like Mike said, like I'm using that lightly, you know, was just like, okay, but what else have you done? What else? So I'm curious, and I didn't like that he should have voted Ashley out instead of voting Susan. I'm kind of going double back on. I'm gonna stand on that with Alex.
Yeah.
No, yeah, that's true, and I kind of this wasn't that episode, so I didn't put him down for it. But if I do think that was a mistake. You had a shot at someone you're not really working with, and was not that you were working with either of them, and that was your shot at like the player of the season, which like they're aware of. Like, this isn't something that we only know about. It's just something that if you're playing in the game, you know that she's very, very competent.
Gonna win if it's
he
her.
has that is like the one thing that can foil his like chance to win. For me, it's like most likely going to be Rita or Dom, just based on the fact that they're not voting each other. And then like we got Ashley, and then we got a big step down, and we got Tabitha as far as likelihood of winning.
Yeah, this is like, okay, back to Edric for a second. Dom had a moment where he explained like the fumble with Ashley, the vote on like that he didn't vote on Ashley. He didn't know the numbers were there. So like at the very least, we got explanation on why he didn't do it, and it wasn't just a complete clown movement by him. So that's why I'm like, I don't know, like Dom is like creeping up a little bit in my ranking of like who would win this, especially in the most terrible scenario. This is the worst case scenario, but if Tabitha wins final 3 and takes Dom, this would be the worst season the entire. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
It's so
Like,
crazy for
the
that.
worst case scenario, I will say.
You gotta stop watching for Edgic because like Survivor has like hours and hours and hours of footage for every episode, and Nick has like 3 hours of footage, like
Yeah.
total, like flat out. That's it.
My confessions are like 5 minutes sometimes.
Yeah.
So it's just like, yeah, Dom is thinking about the game that way, and that's great. But like, can you explain that to the jury? Will the jury believe it? Does the jury like him? Because like a lot of that comes down to that.
I can't wait for my Reddit subreddit about like this Edgic and just talk
my
about
God.
all the, you know.
Don't
I hope
tempt
you
me
figure
because
it
I will
out.
do an Edgic chart for one of these.
Oh, I will. I might just go back and do this. Yeah.
Wait, what are we talking about?
We're giving Nick
So
ideas.
there's this very niche community that does. It's called Edgic, and they are looking at the Survivor episodes, like the way it is edited around these characters, and basically based on like the history of the show, they can predict who is the winner of the season. I will say most people have they don't get the correct answer until like mid-merge or like merge, so it's really just bullshit kind of. But there are like little hints here and there that you can kind of tell that they're a main character in the season or that they're gonna win. Yeah, so it's
Interesting.
I'm gonna tell you this though. If you're like me, if you learn this, you are going to ruin the show for yourself.
I
Because
agree.
at the merge, and like you'll have an episode where someone is like, you know that they're an Edgic contender, and it's like someone who you know is
Yes.
not, and it's like they're the two names. You're gonna know what happens. You
Yes.
will ruin the show for yourself. Don't open this door. Don't open this Pandora's
Don't open it.
box.
I've done it already.
I won't.
About that's just my that's my advice, which is maybe blasphemy in the Survivor community, but if you're like a spoiler hater like me, also if you talk to people online about like the actual show, like they will be spoiled and they'll be acting like it's a brilliant prediction. They just looked up spoilers because someone leaked it.
Yeah.
Damn.
Last question about Dom. He was the one that was talking to Tabitha a lot the last 2 episodes. Do you give him credit for Tabitha's
Yes.
vote
I
this year?
do. I
Yes.
do.
That's part of the reason he went up for me this episode. Like credit where credit is due for that. I just don't know that he'll be able to articulate that to the jury or the jury will care. But like as far as getting himself to the end, I think he's arguably better positioned than Rita just because of that and that alone.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? He reminds me of Dot, but way more like smarter and way.
Doc gets so much shit on this show.
You're so bad for that. Like, bro, Doc's got to get on here one week and just defend himself because he just catches strays.
He really does get shit.
Dot, where are you? Where are you at, bro?
I think Dot is.
I don't see that at all. I don't know where you're getting this.
Yeah,
He's
no,
like Dot
no,
at
he's
all.
not
From.
Dot.
He's not promising to 3 different sides and all this other. Like, I don't know where you're seeing that.
I will say Dot was the comp beast of season 3. If that
And I will
counts.
say
if we're calling
Dot-
comp beasts.
Yeah,
Dot is-
comp beasts.
He's smart. He's not dumb. Like he's not dumb at all. He just doesn't articulate his game accurately, or like he has a different perception of his game. But like he plays the game smartly. I will say.
Who?
I think Dot plays it pretty smart. He just doesn't know how to articulate it. You know, like that's just the issue. It's like he doesn't know what his game actually is, even though he's played it well. Versus someone who has played not knowing how they played it, but like somehow did really well from it. You know, like he knows how he played. I don't know if he just understands how to say it, but like either way, he is not. To me, is not. Now I'm like forgetting the name. Like who are we talking about? But
Dom and Dot.
he's not Dom. Dom is not Dot. Dot is not.
I drew this comparison earlier in the season. I'll draw it again. I think if we're going to compare Dom to anybody, we should compare him to Nav, who played on 2 seasons. Was also, I don't know if he actually ended up winning challenges, but like to me, they both kind of play a similar style of like, he kind of played like a under the radar game for the first chunk of the game. And we were all kind of talking about it. And like, look where he is. Look where he's at now. Like it's a totally valid way to play the game. And if you win the right challenges at the right moments and aren't unlucky, there you go.
No, you know what? I will agree with that. He do kind of play like Nav. He remind me of him, just how like, yeah, they got the
he's
same.
loyal.
And the low key, but like the social game that like people appreciate. That's my thought on it. And like
people respect him. He
It's-
has a social game that people don't actually like clock until it's too late, I think. And he's loyal, and so is Nav. So
True.
it's weird to compare two players in two different games from across. But if we have to make a comparison, I drew that comparison earlier, and I felt that way this whole time I've watched him play.
yeah.
Well, any final thoughts or predictions for the finale?
Okay, what's the next challenge?
I think the next challenge is another Price is Right type game. And then, of course, the final challenge is also the synonym game I always do.
Okay.
Cinnamon?
Synonym.
Synonym.
Game, actually.
Oh, synonym. Thank you. My God.
Uh,
I'm keeping my fingers crossed for like an Ashley clutch win because I think it's the most satisfying conclusion. However, Rita or Dom would also be great winners. And if Tabitha won, I would just like to see how it happened from a pure curiosity
I want to
standpoint.
see.
So no matter what happens, I'm excited to see the finale, and I look forward to watching this season reach its conclusion.
I'm gonna just go out on a limb and say Rita wins.
Yeah.
What a limb! What a limb!
What a crazy stance that you take. It's a big left turn.
I'm gonna go. You know what? And like this is crazy to say, maybe, but I'm actually gonna go out on a limb and say that Ashley pulls it out. How? Great question. But I actually would not be surprised at all if she somehow like talked Tabitha into a fire making and then won a clutch final 3 immunity. Like I would not be surprised at all. And like from what I've seen, just like again, super impressed. So I'm never counting her out until she's out.
So it's the synonym game on Final 3.
Yeah.
Okay, so Mike, I kind of agree with you. I think it's possible that the 4, like they do go to fire, like the tiebreaker challenge. Ashley wins it, she's fine, and then wins that Final 3 and sits at the end next to maybe Dom.
It doesn't even matter who she sits to at that point. I don't.
Yeah, that's true. That would be insane. Like this season would be like crazy good.
If anyone is skilled enough to convince someone to let them make fire, it's her. That's my thought. Either way, it's a good underdog from this point on for her. It's a great underdog story for the last 2 legends to fight back from where they had no business fighting back. So like it's going to be a satisfying conclusion.
Hopefully that happens.
We'll see.
It's either that or we all owe Tabitha a really long apology. Like she comes out here and we're all just like, we're sorry we doubted you. Like we didn't see it, but you're clearly a genius.
Oh, Canada!
If we open next episode with Tabitha saying, "Great, now that that's out of the way, we can force a fire and like force a tie, send Damarita home, and I'll be a sure final 2." I would have to give her flowers. Like she could explain that to the jury and win this game, and I'd be okay with it. But I just don't see her doing that.
They buy it. I don't think they buy it. You can say my plan was always to make fire making, and it's gonna say, "Why was your plan to make fire making? Like, why was that a good plan?"
Why would you make a freaking tie? Like, I agree.
Oh God.
Either way, this has been a good season. Great season.
Yes.
You've all played your heart out, so I've loved seeing it. Like there's been so many great moments. Like Razzo, you were almost out of the game. You came back and like fought it. Muggsy, were hilarious. It's been a good season.
It's been great. Every person, everybody.
Typhon. Even Typhon.
Poor Typhon. Yeah, Typhon talking about bad breaks. Like
Yeah. I am hoping to invite some people to the podcast next week. Hopefully Susan will be one of them, so we could have Susan and Amanda on the same podcast, I hope.
Yes.
I gotta go see what she said about me.
All she did was mix up your name, but it was pretty funny.
Oh man.
Yeah.
All right, that's all for this week. We will see everyone for the finale next week.